For 44 years, one building defined Texas, Houston's JPMorgan Chase Tower, 1002 FT untouchable since 1981. Dallas tried and failed. San Antonio never came close. Austin wasn't even in the conversation. Then something shifted. In June 2022, construction crews broke ground on a site most engineers would have rejected. Fractured limestone bedrock from a fault zone. The kind of geology that makes foundation work a nightmare. 3 years later, Austin topped out at 1025 FT. Not just Texas's tallest, the tallest music in the entire South, overtaking Atlanta's 1023 FT Bank of America Plaza, which had held that title since 1992. Austin joined New York, Chicago, and Atlanta in an elite club, the only 4 U.S. cities with a super tall skyscraper, and they did it faster than any of them. 3 years on the worst ground with zero prior experience. So why did Austin get the South's next super tour when Houston and Dallas have been trying for decades? And how did they build it faster than cities with 40 years of experience on geology that should have slowed them down, not sped them up? This isn't just about breaking a record. This is about breaking a monopoly. Since 1981, Houston's JPMorgan Chase Tower has been the tallest building in Texas. For 44 years, if you wanted to see the biggest towers in the South, you looked at Houston. Not Austin, not Dallas, Houston. And now, Austin just proved that a city with no super tall experience can beat everyone and do it faster than cities building tall for decades. How? 3 things changed. First, Austin rezoned Rainey Street in 2005, removing height caps. Second, the tech boom created luxury demand that could justify billion-dollar construction costs. Third, developers imported contractors from New York, Chicago, and Miami who knew how to build fast using prefab methods rare in the US. But there's a bigger question. If Austin can build a super tall in 3 years using imported expertise and prefab construction, can every other southern city copy this playbook? Let's put the speed in context. NYC's Vanderbilt 1.41 FT 5 years to build. LA's Wilshire Grand 1,100 FT 4 years. All these cities have decades of high-rise experience, deep contractor pools, and proven methods. And they both took longer than Austin. Austin did 1,025 FT in just over 3 years with zero prior super tall experience. Houston has stable clay deposits and 40 years of expertise. Austin has fractured limestone. Every pier shaft is a gamble and no track record building above 600 FT. So what happened? Before we get to the speed playbook, in music you need to understand what they built because Waterline isn't just a tall tower, it's 3 buildings stacked into one. At 1,025 FT and 74 stories, Waterline is a vertical neighborhood containing 2.7 million square ft. Unlike most super tools, which are single-use, Waterline is 3 distinct buildings stacked vertically, creating massive engineering challenges. Floors 42 through 74 house 352 luxury apartments with starting prices at $2 million for a 1-bedroom. Floors 14 through 39 contain over 700,000 FT of Class AA office space. Floors 1 through 13 house a 250-room hotel operated music by 1 hotels plus ground-level retail space. The engineering showpiece, massive sculptural columns lift the entire structure more than 30 FT above street grade. Each column stands 30 to 53 FT tall cast using over 70 cubic yards of high-strength music concrete and 22,000 hours lb of rebar. They provide flood protection, public access to music, Waller Creek Greenway below, and transfer approximately 30,000 to 40,000 tons per column. Why mixed use makes this harder? Hotel floors carry light loads, office floors carry heavy loads with dense occupancy, and residential floors carry medium loads. The structural core must accommodate varying compression and lateral loads as you move up. You can't just repeat the same floor plate 74 times. A Supertall is any building over 984 FT 300M. It's a different category of engineering. Wind loads multiply exponentially, foundation requirements become extreme, and construction logistics get exponentially harder. The United States has 30 Supertalls. New York, music, has 18. Chicago has 7. The South, despite explosive growth, has lagged behind three barriers: zoning restrictions capping heights, insufficient market demand to justify billion-dollar costs, and lack of construction capacity. Specialized contractors and materials didn't exist until music, the 2010s. Austin broke through all three: rezoning, market demand, and imported expertise. Here's the construction story and the three factors that let Austin build faster than expected. They imported the expertise. Austin brought in teams from other markets. The general contractor had built tall in New York and Miami. The structural engineers, music, had worked on towers in Chicago and LA. This wasn't learning from scratch. This was hiring people who already knew how. Prefabrication, music, everywhere. Waterline used prefab for almost everything. Curtain wall panels arrived mostly assembled, 40% faster installation. MEP racks built off-site. Bathroom pods arrived fully furnished. This is standard in Singapore and Hong Kong, but rare in the US. Austin bet on prefab and it paid off. Extended shifts. At peak construction, crews worked extended hours and weekend shifts. This added approximately $40 million to the labor budget, but compressed the timeline by 6 to 9 months. Most U.S. high-rises work 5-day weeks. Waterline's crews worked 6-day weeks with 10 to 12-hour shifts. Ground broke in June 2022, but first they had to solve the Bones fault zone problem. Austin sits on fractured limestone bedrock. Unlike Houston's stable clay, Austin's bedrock creates voids. They drilled over 100 pier shafts, each 4 to 6 ft in diameter, going 50 to 80 ft deep. During drilling, crews hit unexpected voids. Several piers couldn't hold. They had to re-drill at different angles. Cost plus $8 million, schedule plus 6 weeks. Once piers were socketed, the mat slab was poured in a continuous 36-hour operation, 8,000 cubic yards of concrete, 800 truck deliveries. Then came the 91 sculptural columns. The core used jump form technology, formwork that climbs with the building. Pour 1 floor. Let it cure music 24 to 48 hours. Release formwork, hydraulically jump it up. Repeat the pace, 1 floor every 3 to 4 days. While the core climbed, steel erection for floor plates began. The glass facade lagged 10 to 15 floors behind steel. Prefabricated panels arrived with frames, glass, and insulation pre-assembled. In late 2024, glass deliveries were delayed 6 weeks due to supply chain issues, but this didn't affect topping out because steel and core were already ahead. In August 2025, the final structural beam was lifted. After topping out came the tuned mass damper installation on floor 72. Without it, the slender profile would cause top floors to sway up to 18 in high winds. The solution? A 400-ton concrete block suspended on springs and hydraulic dampers. When wind pushes the building one way, the damper moves the opposite way. At peak activity, 875 workers were on site daily. Over 4,750 total workers rotated through the build. The timeline, 74 stories in 3 years, equals almost 23 floors per year. One Vanderbilt averaged 17 floors per year. Wilshire Grand averaged 19. Austin beat them all despite fractured bedrock, delays, and labor shortages. Waterline will begin opening in 2026. Hotel music floors are scheduled to go live first, then offices, then residences. But the biggest story isn't when lights turn on, it's what happens next. Austin's reign as the South's tallest won't last long. Miami is building its first super-tall Waldorf Astoria at 1,049 ft, currently under construction, and music expected to top out in late 2026. That will make it 24 ft taller than Waterline and the new tallest building in the South. Miami hit its maximum allowable height due to airport proximity, meaning 1,049 ft is the ceiling. Same constraint Houston faces from Hobby Airport, music, which capped their tallest at 75 floors back in 1981. What Austin proved is that speed matters. The playbook is clear. remove height restrictions, create luxury demand, import experienced teams, use prefab construction, and run extended shifts. That's replicable. The question is whether other cities have the willingness to execute it. Whether Houston or Dallas try to reclaim the crown is an open question. They have the capacity, but Austin changed the game. It's no longer about who builds tallest, it's about who builds fastest, and there's a cost. Residential units start at $2 million for a one-bedroom, Manhattan pricing in a city that prided itself on affordability. Building tall concentrates density, which Austin needs, but prices out the middle class. For now, Texas has a new tallest building. Austin took it in 2025, Miami will take it in 2026, and someone else might take it back after that. Austin proved you don't need decades of experience, just the right team and a willingness to move fast. So here's the question. What city do you think should build the next Supertall? Phoenix, Charlotte, Nashville, Denver. Which city has the demand, the ambition, and the speed to pull off what Austin just did? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more mega builds, where we break down the engineering, the money, and the strategy behind the world's most ambitious construction projects.